it's a dance, and dancers love to feel that upbeat. So, hey everybody, I'm going to cover a tutorial of my rendition of Tennessee Waltz today. I have a video that you should check out if you haven't yet, and maybe you ended up here because you were over there. It's a arrangement of the tune for Clawhammer Banjo. I'm in the double C tuning, so starting with our lowest fourth string, we got a low C, a G on the third string, a C on the second string, a D on the first string, and our fifth string is tuned to G. And as is implied by the name of the tune, we're going to be in waltz time today. I'm going to try to make this tutorial applicable for anyone at any level. So I'm going to cover some basic beginner things, and I'm also going to cover some pretty advanced things. So hopefully somewhere along the line I'll meet you where you're at. So waltz time on the Clawhammer Banjo. In Clawhammer Banjo speak, we know the basic bum ditty. All you do is add another ditty to that. So you've got bum ditty ditty bum ditty ditty. In C, we play our C major chord with our first string on the E, or our first finger on the E note here on the first string. So I'm gonna bum on the fourth string. Try just making the second ditty a ditty and the first one just a strum, so it'll be bum strum ditty. If we were to count 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3 and 1, 1, 2, 3. We're in a waltz, so everything we're going to count goes up to 3. 1, 2, 3 and so we build this machine with our right hand that stays in waltz time the whole time, and everything we do, all the notes we suss out of it, is going to be built out of our hand following this machine, where your hand goes down on the 1, the 2, and the 3, and on the upbeats, the ands, 1 and 2 and 3 and, our hand is not coming down. And if we want to produce a note on those and beats, it's either going to come from our thumb, or some kind of pull off or hammer on something over here with our left hand. So the machine, the rules of the machine we set up are that the hand comes down on 1, 2, 3, and offbeats have to be produced either with the thumb, offbeat meaning an and, 1 and 2 and, or the left hand. So again, we have our basic 1, 2, 3 and. So we hit that and with our thumb on the fifth string. 1, 2, 3 and. So there's the basic beat we're going to stick to in this song. And the reason I'm stressing that 3 and 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3 and is because every melody line of this song begins on a 3 and. So from the beginning, 1, 2, 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 1 and 2. 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 and. So every lick is going to start with a 3 and. And those notes, for almost every one of those licks, ba-da, is C and D, C, D. So in our double C tuning, that's the second string open and the first string open. C, D. But we know they're happening in eighth notes. So if we were to produce them with plucks of our right hand, we could only do them in quarter notes because our hand only comes down on the numbers. 1, 2, 3. But we want to produce 3, 3 and. So we don't want to break out in the machine and go 3 and hit it. You want to keep this waltz machine going. And so our options to produce it could be a hammer-on, So I'm hitting the open second string, and I'm hammering to the second fret, the D. It's the same as the open first string. But that hammer-on is kind of weak. That second note gets rather lost, and in fact, it just reinforces the ring of the first note. And so a more powerful way to produce these two notes in eighth note form is what's called an off string pull-off. And it's called an off string pull-off because I'm going to strike the second string with my right hand, and I've already got my left hand primed here on the first string to do a pull-off. So see, I didn't do that with my right hand. I did that with my left hand. I'm just basically sliding my finger off the string, and I'm producing a note on the first string. So again, I hit the second string, pull off on the first string. And dig it, it doesn't matter which fret you hit, you're pulling off from. It's the open string is the note that we're going to produce. So you could pull off here, C, D, C, D, C, D. It's the note you're pulling off to. But we're going to come right back here to the second fret. So I think it makes sense to just pull off from the second fret. So you're going, striking the second string, pulling off the first string in eighth note. 1, 2, 3, and 2, 3, and. So if you're new to off-string pull-offs, this is going to take some time to get used to. It's pretty weird. It's pretty weird for your brain to wrap around the idea of striking one string over here but pulling off a different string over here. But it's really useful to get eighth notes that move upward. We're going from a C up to a D. If we were going from a D to a C, it would be easy. You'd do a drop thumb. But we're going from a C to a D, and so that's why we're doing this off-string pull-off. So the song starts 1, 2, 3, and. Now I just strum a C chord and catch the fifth string on the end of 1. 3 and 1 and. Now your machine keeps coming down on the 2 even though we're not going to play there. 3 and 1 and 2. 3 and 1 and 2. 3 and 1. Okay, so that happens basically 3 times to start the song. And on the third time, we're going to play this melody line. E, D, C, A. The A is in the F chord. So we just went 3 and 1 and 2. 3 and 1 and 2. 3 and E, D, C, A. 3 and. Now here I am going to do a hammer-on. You could also do a slide. Hammer-ons work much better when you're going from a fretted note to another fretted note. Or you're starting on a fretted note rather than starting on an open string. You could do a slide. If you wanted. I'm going to do this hammer-on. So we went E, D, C, A. Hammer from the A to the B. A, B, C, G, E. Now that's just a C major arpeggio. We're going from C to the 5 G to the 3 E. A, G, E, D, which is part of a G chord. And I put my finger here on the third fret to make it a G7. Hit that F note to make it a G7. And then I just kind of end with a little drop thumb lick like that. So that whole first phrase. 1, 2, C, D, 2, C, D, 2, C, D, E, D, C, A, D, A, B, C, G, E, A, G, E, D, G7, 2, 3. Now we basically repeat. Repeat all the way up to that E note, and then we switch to a G chord so we can end the second phrase on a C chord. So the first phrase and the second phrase, we'll call them A and B. are almost identical, except the A phrase ends on a G7 chord, and the B phrase will bring us back home to the 1 chord. So how do I do that? I get there from this G7 chord, and I walk back from the F, E, D, C. So you're just walking down from an F, D, E, C. That's the melody notes, but I'm playing a 5 chord as it happens. So the chords we've played so far are the 1 chord, C. We went up to that F chord in the middle of the phrase, the 4 chord. And at the end of our phrases, we either end on a 5 chord or we have the 5 chord right before we end. So, first phrase. 2, 3, and 2, 3, and E. End on a G7, hold it. 3 and 1, and 2. Now to the 5, walk down from the F. F, E, D, C. So that's most of the song right there. Now, if I were going to embellish some things and make it a little more musical, the first 2 phrases that are identical. I was dancing with my darling. That second phrase, the with my darling phrase, I like to put my ring finger, or you could use pinky, or if you have big hands, or middle finger, but I use my ring finger to catch the B note. So it takes the C chord of the first phrase and turns it into a C major 7 in the second phrase. So I just catch that note when I strum, but other than that, they're the same. So all I'm doing is bringing that B note into the C chord to make it a C major 7 chord. And then in the third phrase, or when I'm going from the E, D, C, the melody is walking down E, D, C. And so I like to incorporate this movement from the lower end of the banjo coming up. Instead of da, 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 you're simultaneously going da, da, da. Or at least I imply it by when I play the D note in the melody. Da, 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 da. I catch this major third, the E note, and it implies this like counter motion where you have the melody coming down and this bass line coming up. So, and then to catch this little line that I catch a little 8th note before it on the open 3rd string, the G. Because to keep the machine, I've got to catch that with a thumb. So we're going 2, 3, and 2. So it's just this hammer we were doing from the A to the B. I just catch a quick 8th note before it, the G. Maybe a little hammer there. The only time I would break out of the machine is to do a flourish like this. Kind of dramatically, you switch into a triplet rhythm there. I'm breaking out of the triplet machine to do that. Or the waltz machine over here. 2, 2. Strike, strike, strike. Repeat it all. And you can let that fifth string just kind of chirp away as you feel it. You can have it really rhythmic by. That was kind of extreme, but and you can have it not there at all. But probably you'll end up somewhere in between, where you're just kind of every once in a while letting the fifth string ring kind of to get into the rhythm, your own waltz rhythm. There's one more rhythmic thing that I do. I have a little pickup note there where I catch the open first string, and again this falls right into our waltz machine. Where when I'm bringing my hand back up, it just falls right into the rhythm. I'm not adding anything extra here. It's just the way my hand is flowing with the waltz rhythm. I catch the open first string with the nail of my thumb. Another way to just kind of infuse this upbeat. You know, it's a dance, and dancers love to feel that upbeat. So. To a major 3 chord. It's a really cool sounding chord. That's what a major 3 chord sounds like. So we're in the key of C, so C is 1, D is 2, E is 3. So we're going to play an E major chord. So how do we build an E major chord? Well, let's start on E. E, we skip the second note, a whole step, which would be F sharp. We go one more whole step up to G sharp. So our second note of the E chord is E, G sharp. A half step up would be, half step up would be A, and then our 5 would be B. So we're trying to get E, G sharp, and B notes. And we're going to actually play a 3 major 7. So we can also get a D natural in there. D would make the E major chord a 7 chord. Not a major 7 like we talked about earlier, but a 7 chord. And so we like E, D, G sharp, and B notes. So we're trying to find those. So we got a D, we got a G sharp here on the 3rd string. I actually have only ever played it like this. I guess I'm not catching the 4th string, but if you wanted to catch the 4th string, you could put the D in the bass with your middle finger. First finger on the G sharp. I'm going to catch the D here on the 2nd string, and then the E up here on the 1st string. And then the next 2 notes are a drop thumb on that chord, and then you go right up to the 4 chord. So it's a major 3 leading you to a 4 chord, the F. So I usually don't play the 4th string on the E chord, and I just play this fingering. So it would look like this. Drop thumb F. Like the second half of our first phrase. So the 3rd phrase ends the same as the first phrase, but it starts with that major 3 chord. F, back to C chord. Now I do this thing where it's like a double hammer on. You hammer from the G to the A, and then from the A to the B, all in one strike of the right hand. It's another triplet. Triplet, da. And then you're going to end on the C note, back to the C. So you have... is that you end up striking the C in the right spot, the open second string. And now you're right back to the second half of the first phrase. And then the fourth phrase is the same as the second phrase. C, G, E, C. That's an arpeggio that's nice to end on. 1, 5, 3, 1. Drop thumb, F, and on the G note of the 1 chord. Hammerlet. Here's a little thing I do a lot. It's just like a little fill. And so the notes you're playing are D, E, F, E, D, C, D, D, E, F, E, D, C. But it's all done with drop thumbs. I'm just going to do that. Drop thumbing of the first string to the second string. You're going, catching a higher note on the second string. So that was... just to bridge you from that 5 chord back to the lick, or the melody. So... slow that down if you don't know what I'm doing there. Slow it down. It's much easier than it sounds. I'm just drop thumbing on the first 2 strings. Open, D, E, F, E, D, C. Now, let's take the first couple phrases up the neck. So we start with 3 and 1 and 2. 3 and 1. So this is a way of playing our 4 chord, kind of a nice open airy version of a 4 chord. You could choke it and play a bar chord, but I like to just catch the 4th string on the F, the 1st string on the A, and let those middle 2 strings ring. It's really beautiful. So we got up there. So we're doing the same notes. C, D, E. I'm finding them up here, and I'm doing them with just thumbing, with just regular thumbing, where you're going to thumb the 5th string where you normally would, but you're going to fret it. Right there is the D, C, D, E, C, D, E. So it's just like doing this. 10th fret, 12th fret, 14th fret. Because up here, the 1st string and the 5th string are the same notes. So you can find this note right here. And so instead of doing some hammer-on thing, you can make it more forceful by catching it with your thumb right in time to that beautiful F chord. Again, instead of doing this, A, B, C, A, B, C, same move down here that we already did, you're doing up here, A, B, C, catching it with your thumb on the 5th string again. A, B, C. So I know there were a lot of some advanced things in there, but if nothing else, work on that off-string pull-off to produce melody notes and the waltz rhythm. 3 and remember to let your hand feel that 2 beat, even though you're not playing it. 3 and 1 and 2. 3 and 1 and 2. And for extra credit, see if you can figure out that third part up the neck. That's an F minor chord, catching the A flat instead of the A. Waltz away, friends.